Hello YouTube and welcome to GrunfWorks. This is episode 20 of the Interplanetary Guide to Exploration, and it is time that we finally live up to the name Interplanetary. Well, we might not be going between the planets, but today we will be constructing our first interplanetary probe. And we will be testing it just to get out of the Kerbin sphere of influence and to come back to Kerbin. So, in the previous episode, we have unlocked the secrets of the xenon fuel and the ion propulsion. So now I'm using the after ion engine. I was thinking between PB ion and after ion. I think I will opt for the after ion because of its better thrust. Then these all ion engines are very power hungry, so we will be adding some Gigantor solar panels and some decent batteries. I'm still thinking maybe I should put the regular ion. I mean, this is not really an interplanetary probe. It will go very close, so it will have much better delta V if I just put the regular ion engine. Okay, then what we need is a communitron 8888. Yep, so that we can maintain connectivity with the Kerbal Space Center. I'll just put one here. Communitron to start with, and then let's put some science equipment on it, because ultimately we will want definitely some science equipment. By the way, we'll have to put antennas, and these 3 antennas should cover 3 different scenarios. One of them being close to Kerbin, others going towards Moon and Minmus, and third one when we just get out of the Minmus range, because then the comms DTS dish should probably stop. So yeah, that's why we need all 3 antennas to point back to Kerbin. And now we're putting some of the science equipment. Well, basically I'm just trying to cram as much science as possible, because we would be going basically to the interplanetary space, just out of Kerbin sphere of influence, and then immediately back. And I ultimately want to land this probe, because I'm not a big believer when it comes to transmitting the data, because some of the information gets lost. If there are experiments which can be transmitted, then that's fine, but I prefer recovering my probe, because then I get all the data at its maximum. So yeah, and now I'm just relocating the communitron a little bit more downwards, so I could in theory put like a mystery goo or something. Okay, let's put an orbital telescope. What else? We have from these experiments that we could put in? Mystery goo. I definitely sadly cannot cram in the materials study, because that one is just too big, and if I do it to allow it to be too big, I mean, it won't work with the ion drive, and that's something that I really want to run with ion drive. Okay, so let's call this probe Micro Interplanetary Probe Mark 1. It's basically our first foray into the outside of Kerbin's sphere of influence. So yeah, I'm thinking about RPWS. Okay, put them like this. And let us now set up the parachutes, how to arm the chute, action groups, toggle panels, toggle gigantors, communitrons, and other communications dishes. And then, let me see, then we should start constructing the lifter. So let's see, 1.25 meter fairings sadly won't cut it. I always try to go with the minimum fairings necessary because it's easier to put them in the orbit. But then we will go with 125 expanded fairings. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking if I put one of these it will be actually better. So yeah, the probe was a little bit too cramped. We do lose a little bit of delta V, but still. Okay, I think this seems much better and much healthier. Okay, yeah. Okay, because I don't really like clipping that much. Okay, time to put some reaction wheels, check our staging while we're doing so. Then trying to figure out how much delta V do we really need. $6,155 probably should be enough, but I'm kind of thinking, well, why the hell not? But it really doesn't contribute that much in terms of delta V, so I might just slap on 2 big ones. Okay, something like this. And now our takeoff thrust weight is a little bit too on the low side, lower than I would actually like. And we didn't gain that much in terms of delta V, but well. I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, yeah, maybe we should put some SRBs. Like 2 SRBs, put them at an angle, and they should provide enough thrust to give us some decent delta V upstairs. Yeah, I think that should work. So let's just thrust limit them, because I usually shoot for surface thrust to weight 1.8 roughly. This looks fine. And let us go and build the vessel. Yeah, sorry, got a glitch there. Warp to complete. Okay, fine. So let us roll our probe out of the storage, and it's time to launch it. Okay, so pause the loading screen and let's kick it off. So the ascent stage is regular, nothing really strange about it. So I'm showing it slightly time accelerated, booster separation, and basically we're going for a gravity turn, and I'll be shooting for roughly 100 by 100 or something apoapses and periapses, circular orbit, and then I'm just gonna find a convenient angle and just thrust outwards and to get out of the Kerbin sphere of influence, using this stage as much as we can, and also then using the ion engine a bit. Okay, so I'm a little bit skeptical because I know these ion engines have very low thrust, so we have to be very sparing when constructing with them. Okay, we're coming up on the 100 mark apoapsis. Let's ditch the fairings expand everything, and yeah. Cool. Time to circularize. Okay. 772 needed for the circularization burn, and in this stage we have 1.6 delta V, so let us just now prepare all of our communication dishes, just to make sure that we don't miss a thing. One of the most common mistakes when people play with remote tech is forgetting to set the target on a comms dish. You get out of range of your primary antenna, and then basically you are in trouble. So 120 by 99, I mean, it's good enough for me. So now let us see the angle at which we want to eject from Kerbin. Okay, so it's roughly here somewhere, so let us put something around here. Okay. Actually, I mean, in the previous episode I even started constructing this probe, and then immediately after I constructed it, I figured, oh, dang it, I really need the communications network capable of delivering such a probe. So, I mean, that's why I originally went and designed the communications network first, and deployed these 3 ComSats because of it. Okay, so time to point the craft. Maneuver prograde, and yeah, here we see that, like, again, it's not a full burn, but we don't really have to care, because yeah, we'll use as much of the chemical rocket as we can, and then just make another pass with the ion engine. Okay, coming up on our maneuver node. We're 3 minutes out. Okay, and our communication satellites are nicely relaying our signal, which is great. Okay. And time to burn. Like I said, we will be using still as much of the rocket as possible, because that one has much higher thrust and it's much easier to get there faster. I could basically be going with ion engine, but it would require multiple orbit burns and that kind of stuff. We'll probably, you'll see it when I will be burning for Duna or some other planets. But yeah, here you see our probe being used. And burning ever so slowly. Okay. 64 meters per second to go. I'm also monitoring that we don't get a moon encounter or something, because that could potentially screw up our orbit. Or mess up, sorry. Okay, ion engine burning. It's nice for very teeny tiny maneuvers, but for the main burn, ejection burn, yeah, you still really want to have something with a higher thrust. But you gotta admit, it looks kinda cool. That's definitely a screeny. Okay, a bit more, and we are in the interplanetary space. Great. We don't want to put too much. Let us activate our solar panel, or sorry, communitrons, communication dishes, and I'm thinking I will point this to one of the comsats and activate. The reason why I'm not pointing this antenna to Kerbin is due to the fact that we won't be going that far, and its cone of coverage is tiny, so by the time we get to interplanetary space, the cone of coverage won't be wide enough for it to engulf all of the 3 communication satellites that we have placed in the polar orbit. So if we went to Duna, then it would be possible, or if we went to, let's say, I don't know, Eve or something. But this way, it's most definitely is not, so we really need to focus the actual satellite. Okay, and let us see how are we faring. Oh, and then once again, our orbit is again a little bit screwed, so we just need to burn a little bit more prograde to make sure that we do eject from Kerbin. Okay, and congratulations, we are now officially left the Kerbin sphere of influence. Time to gather some science. Gravity scan. You look at a small measurement and feel slightly relieved. Perhaps you won't be incinerated today. Okay. Magnetometer. Kerbin's enormous magnetosphere extends well beyond the orbit ELO, affecting all planets in the solar system. Well, nice. Radio plasma wave scan. Oh, this we have to do a screening first. It looks just beautiful. Okay, mystery goo. The goo looks like a rainbow. Well, good for it. Orbital telescope. Still bright. Okay, and RPWS. So we're now deploying the antenna. Radio waves are detected from interactions between the charged plasma in the solar wind and planetary magnetic fields throughout the solar system. Cool. So time to retract our experiments and time to go back to Kerbin. So now the point is I have pointed the orbit retrograde and just burning to get back to the Kerbin's sphere of influence. And here at this point I'm still was pretty oblivious to the fact that you don't necessarily need to burn that much orbit retrograde. What I could and will do is basically point the craft radially, and yeah, and then you need much less delta V to actually come back. But yeah, well, you live, you learn. So I'm just basically trying to figure out, okay, how much delta V would I actually need, because like I'm thrusting, so I'm trying to figure out, and it says like, whoa, 299 delta V, and that's huge, but I don't remember spending that much coming in. So I said, well, no, let us try something different. And I was just thinking, okay, so if it's not orbit retrograde, then what should it be? So I have now just continued to burn retrograde, but at some point I realized, okay, well, I should probably burn radially. Ever so slowly. Yeah, at this point I was initially thinking, yeah, I'll go with the orbit retrograde burn, but then again I realized, well, holy cow, this might take forever. So, yeah. Just waiting till I basically come to the point when I'm realizing, okay, it might be much more simple to go radially. Alright. Yeah, and here I'm kind of trying maneuver node, and so what would happen? Oh, and you see 6.8 or 7 meters per second, and that's it. So, and I'm thinking like, okay, so what was I thinking? So yeah, so just pointing my craft, and I started to burn a bit. And immediately I get an orbital capture around Kerbin, so I just figured, well, let us just keep on going in that general direction and hopefully reduce our periapsis. Because, well, why not? So now we have to make sure that we get our periapsis in the range of, let's say, 20 kilometers altitude from Kerbin, so that we can essentially first aero brake and then get an aero capture at Kerbin. And here I'm just trying to figure out where I'm gonna put the maneuver node, because yeah, here a little bit KSP is a little bit finicky. Okay, still thrusting, trying to reduce my my periapsis. And I've been doing that for a while, so my kind of main goal is to basically get the periapsis in the deep into the Kerbin's atmosphere. So, but I mean, you gotta admit, it kind of looks cool when it goes on this ion engines. Looks a little bit futuristic, don't you think? So yeah, okay. And in the background we see Kerbin, and I think it's the moon or something. Minmus is a little bit further out. So yeah. Periapsis is still dropping, which is good. We want it to drop. And that basically also speeds up our travel time, hopefully. Okay. Ever so carefully. $3 million kilometers, or 3 million meters. Sorry. 2.5. We're already getting into the range of our communication satellites, or the orbits that our communication satellites use. Okay. Almost there. Almost. 600, 500 periapsis. Come on. And circular orbit. Finally, well, not circular, elliptical orbit, but still. It's not the escape trajectory any longer, which is great. And now 30, 25, 22-ish. Great. Perfect. So it is time that we come back home. So 19 hours one day, and let us just see which direction we would be pointing if we were to go retrograde. Orient our probe in that general direction, and let us just quickly accelerate time and basically come back home, or bring our probe back home, while our communication satellites are doing the bunga bunga dance, obviously, bouncing the signal back and forth. Okay. Where is Kerbin? Should be retrograde to us. Ah, there it is. I figured it would be just cool to see it come closer and closer as we approach it. I really like the view, by the way. And here we come. Okay, now we're at 1.2 million meters. And now I'm just thinking that I would prefer my deployment altitude for the parachute to be a little bit higher. I've armed the parachute so that it opens automatically, because I do not want to be opening it manually, because I'll probably won't have even control. So now we're slowly descending into the atmosphere, and here we are at the atmosphere. So it's time to pack the solar panels, pack the communication dishes. We don't really want to waste them. I double checked that we are indeed we have an armed parachute, and I have deactivated the communotron, and now we have Sir Isaac Newton piloting this probe. So it's spinning ever so violently until the point when our chute decides to deploy, which is right about now. Should hopefully stop the spin a bit. And now I'm just going into time accelerated manner to land the probe, and also just collecting some quickie science along the way. Why not? It's a good thing that we didn't have the actual Kerbals piloting this. They would probably get very dizzy now. Okay, well, both of our chutes have deployed. And right now we are slowly approaching the surface. Okay, 260, and here we are. Landed at Kerbin. Time to recover the probe. Recover the vessel. Great. And let us see how much science have we gotten. Okay, so we have gotten 406, which brings us to the grand total of 562. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. I hope you liked the episode. If you liked the episode, like the episode. And for more KSP content, stay subscribed. Thank you very much for watching. This is GrunfWorks signing off.